Okay, we're back. This has been exactly 24 hours. Yesterday about this time, I work nights, so when I come home in the morning, this is what I do. A few wood projects. So we clamped it all, and now we're going to unclamp it. And the reason I use paper in between the blocks of wood is I never used to do that. And a lot of times you end up pulling apart the wood off the project you're doing, and I didn't do that, see? So what we did, we glued this actually, any of the spare glue underneath this paper. And my dad taught me this, to use some thick paper, a thin piece of cardboard, and now you can see that's what we have to work with now, and it's a lot easier to sand that off than the wood if we would have glued the wood. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to set this, I got my camera in my vise. Let me see if I can set this camera up on something a little bit higher. Water jug. Let's try this. Throw a block of wood here. There. So I'm going to undo the legs. We're going to end up sanding those down probably, because one of them had a little bit of paint on it. I got this light right here. Extends. You can pull it down. I'm probably going to lower the wattage. I don't even know what's in there. Oh geez, 75. That's pretty bright. So anyway, all I did was I drilled a hole in this piece of wood that I have on my table, and I mounted the light so you can see I have light anywhere I want now above my workbench. Okay, so I have what's left is just a little piece of cardboard. And I have quite a few sanders, all different kinds, and I just plugged one in, and if I follow the cord, I'm sure it'll be at the end of it. Yep, there it is. This is the Mouse. It's a Black & Decker. They're pretty quiet as far as sanders go. I'm going to be using a 120 grit on this and see how it does. So I'm just going to work the tip of this right now and see what happens. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get a small screwdriver or a dowel. I think a small screwdriver might work better. I want to see if this filled up with glue or if it's just some of the paper. I'm hoping it's just some of the paper. We're going to take the screw that we pried it out with. That came out pretty good. And we want to see if we screw in the leg Now see there, you can't really see any of the repair. The leg's in there tight now. And since that was sealed, some of the glue could still possibly be a little wet in there, so I'm going to let it dry a little longer. So, this is the bottom side. I like these electric sanders just because it makes the work so much faster. So I'm going to just sand for a few minutes on each side. Okay, and in just minutes we're done with this side. I might go back and see if I have any other problems to work out. Now this is at a slant, so I'm going to go along and go, I am sanding with the grain, so the grain goes this way, and so on, and it wraps around the same direction. So we're going to go ahead and work on the edges real quick and see how much we can get done. And that's sanding it pretty nice. So this is the top of the table. I don't know if this is glue or paint or what, but I'm going to have to sand until that gets gone, until it's all removed. So let's do that. I'm applying just a little bit of pressure on those areas. If you notice right here we have a coffee stain. I don't know if it's coffee or an oil. We'll see how deep we have to go to get that off. Not too deep at all. So I'll go ahead and finish this and then we'll start the video up when I get a little more done on this. Okay. Here's where we stand right now. I sanded the front and the back and most of the edges, but I don't want to use this the whole time because I got some edges. What do we got here? This is a 100 grit. I used 120 on the sander. This is some 100 grit, and you can see like right here there's dark spots. So I'm just going to run the stuff off. Another thing you can do is if you have a wood project and you can pick up a piece of furniture for $1 or $2, and they're out there, solid wood furniture, pick it up. When you're looking for trash items, just pick it up and strip it down, take all the wood apart, and save that for scrap wood, because it's hard to always find a good match. Okay, I'm going with the grain, not always. Now, here's the way it works with sandpaper, okay? You're putting scratches in the wood. Boy, that grain just really popped. So what you're doing is, you're putting scratches in the wood. The lower the grit, the deeper the scratch. So if you were to do this, let's say at 100 grit, and you put scratches on it, on the wood, by setting something on there, it's not going to really show up as much. The higher the grit, like if we got into 500 or 1000 grit, it's going to get to a mirror finish, super smooth. And what happens then is when you scratch the table on daily use, you're going to notice it a lot more. So now what I've ran is some 220. I'm just going to use a sanding block. I want to get the top of this a little bit better, going with the grain. And the higher the grit, the more the grain's going to pop out at you. And this is going to be as fine as I'm going to do this piece. I like sanding blocks. They're cheap. They're easy to use. I don't buy the sand. I just use square pieces of paper and fit it in there. I go down to Harbor Freight. You can get some great deals down there. I don't like every tool that Harbor Freight has, but let me tell you what. You do get what you pay for, and I don't think it really matters a lot with sandpaper. So, I'm going to finish doing this, then we'll come back in a minute and show you maybe some stain if I have time. Okay, our table's ready to go. What I'm going to do is go ahead and sand the legs down, just using my hand sandpaper, going with the wood grain. I don't know if you can see that. So, let me get this a little better right here. Smaller pieces like this are easy to do. You can hang on to them so they're quicker. And make sure you do every square inch of it, because they're going to see right at the tip and everything. Both ends. And then we're just going to, this is the 220. And when we'll come back, we'll talk about staining the wood, okay? Okay, we've done the legs. I started off with, I believe it was 100 or 120 grit. And then we sanded them after that with a 220. And they're nice and smooth, they look good. Now, I don't know how we're going to do this exactly yet. I want to get everything done at one time. I don't want to come back here and be doing this for 3 days in a row. So my plan of action, what you're going to need for this is a brush, a couple rags, and some blue gloves. I don't care what color they are. I'm going to show you guys a little secret. When you open up your can, right off the bat, what you want to do is right here in the groove where the lid goes back in, stop, one hole, two holes. Why do you do that, Bob? Well, what's going to happen is when you're putting your brush in there and you're cleaning it off and stuff, paint or stain or varnish gets down in there. When you put the lid on, it oozes out. These little holes will allow it to flow back in there. So, plan of action for this. Got the camera set up for you guys okay? Okay. All I'm going to do right now is basically the edges and the base. And I'm just going to start applying my stain. You can use a product that will help the stain go into the wood. It's a pre-treatment. I haven't used it. I would recommend it if you know you're going to be doing a lot of this, just for the simple fact that you want the stain to penetrate the wood as best you can. You don't want to be doing this in a high heat area. I did a bed and it was about 110 out, and let me tell you, this stuff dried fast. So you want a little bit of working time. I'm going to go ahead and do the all the edges I can see. Go with the grain. If the brush gets out of the camera zone, I apologize. Now, I'm no expert. Most of my knowledge comes from watching videos, reading directions, reading books, and I just enjoy doing woodworking, metalworking, being out in the garage. Okay, so there's where we stand. Let's do something real quick. Have you ever read the directions on a can? It should be dry, clean, and free of dirt and grease. We've done that. Sand the wood, we've done that. 220 until smooth, we've done that. Remove the sanding dust, we've done that. Product preparation, color testing, applying. Allow the stain to penetrate for 5 to 10 minutes to achieve desired color. Now, what I do is I check an area and see how dark I want it or how light I want it, and just I'm happy with I want a lighter table, and this has only been probably about 3 minutes, and we're just going to wipe all this down. And that already looks really good. Okay, what are we going to do next? Well, next, so I can do this all in one time, I'm going to work on the legs. I'm kind of going to do this a little different. We're just going to whip out these legs real quick. And I'm going to do an overhang and just let them rest on the table for a minute until I want to wipe that off. because I want it to get in there for 3 or 4 minutes. So all I'm doing is I'm getting the underside. In case the legs ever come off, I want it to look like it's always been all one color. And I'm only doing half. And I'll show you why I'm doing that in a minute. There's one. What was that, our second one? This stuff will splatter, so just take your time. If you don't have time to dedicate to the item that you're going to do, my best advice is don't do it, because everything does take a little bit of time. That's our third leg. This will be our fourth leg. And I should have had another area to do this in. Instead, I'm doing it right above my table, and I really didn't want to do that, but it's okay. We're going to wipe that right off, any splatters. Okay, so that's what it ought to look like the way I do it. I'm going to let those sit for a second. I'm going to go and clean up any droppage, little spats, because I don't want it to look different anywhere in the wood. So now we're going to start with the first one I did, and all I'm going to do is wipe that off, get the bottom, and yep, I'm not going all the way in. I'm just screwing it down a little bit. Wiping down the next one. Get that bottom. Just a couple screws. I don't want it to be touching. I don't want it to touch the bottom yet. So I've left a small gap. Make sure we get all this real good in here. It's amazing when you add a little bit of stain, the difference your product looks when you're done. A lot of guys are out there sitting there going, hey, wait, you gotta let it dry. Well, I would agree, except for we're not tightening them down. You see, we left a gap. The leg's loose, and we left a gap. That way it has room to dry. All we're gonna do now, flip the table over, and we're going to do the top side now. But real quick, I had some stain there. So all the edges, you really don't want it to be dripping and looking like paint dripping, you know, and that's what will happen along the edges. Now you could take this in, and they'll probably hit you up for, well, this was a pretty small job, so you probably still have a couple hours labor in it. So they probably hit you up for $75, $100, maybe even more. Who are we kidding? They're going to charge you more. Okay, let's turn it. Just see exactly what I'm doing. Ah, you know what? Bob screwed up. That's okay. I was supposed to do the bottom of the legs. I was definitely supposed to do the bottom of the legs. While it was upside down, I was going to do the bottom of the legs. So I'm going to have to flip it over after we get all this wiped down. You just want to go in the grain. Go with the flow, go with the grain. I'm going to grab a fresh towel, and we're going to go along the edges. Do this real quick. And I'm glad I did, because I found some dripping over here. And it's better to catch any of the dripping now, because when it dries, you're done. Okay, so we're going to do the bottoms. And if you want to, you can put a couple tacks in here, or some of the furniture slides, the little plastic deals. I'm not a big fan of those, because I don't really remember antique furniture having plastic. Not a lot of plastic anyway. Some of them might have had rubber. This old antique chair I found, I ordered casters on eBay, and you can get them pretty cheap. Sometimes they're really expensive, but you know, it took me quite a while to find the casters that I'd be acceptable with, because I wanted as close to original as I could. And I'm still not going to have the total original ones, because of the cost would have been astronomical. But what I am happy with is I found some solid steel round office style, furniture style casters, and I'm going to sandblast them and paint them. You could have sandblasted these legs too to get any of the stuff off of it. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy. I do like sandblasting. We'll go back with the original rag. I started on this one. Splatters. My rag is totally drenched. It's not too bad, but it's got a lot of the stain still in it. And that's okay, because we're using this just to make everything all even. Okay, we're going to double check everything. Sure. Tighten these just so that they're not touching the wood when we flip it over. One last wipe on these. I have no... See what I'm talking about here is along the edge. Sometimes it'll roll on over. So now we're going to flip it back over. We're going to double check these. Okay, so I'm going to take the glove off so I can use this, and there's our table, guys. Right, let's go along with the grain a little so you can see. Now you have a couple choices on the final finish. We can use a polyurethane, or we could use a Minwax with just a wax, or you could do both. Do a real thin coat of the polyethylene, which I've done that on this bench over there, right there, and then on top of that, after that dries, you sand it, and then you could do the wax. This one I like the natural wood, so I'm going to just wax it when I'm done, and it'll be a finished product. So, if you want me to, I'll do another video on that. You let me know, and tomorrow when I come out here, I'm going to let, even after a few hours, this will be ready to tighten these legs up. But you can't tell the repair. The repair was totally unnoticeable. That's what you want. Nobody will ever know that leg was broke. It looks, no marks, no nothing. This would go nicely as any little nightstand, or I'm using it near a sewing box I have. So thanks for watching. You can get your stains and stuff, find them on sale. Don't buy the little cans. If you're going to do any at all, get at least this size right here. And your brushes, you can get those 5 or 6 of them for $1 at Harbor Freight, instead of spending the $7, $8, $9 a piece at Lowe's and Home Depot for applying this stuff. So thanks for watching, guys. Gotta throw one last thing in there. If you see the ad, which ought to be popping right up in this area of the video, click on it every now and then. I get a few cents when you click on it. I don't make a lot, but I want to get a new camera, and it allows me to buy little stuff like this. I haven't earned enough money yet to buy anything to help out with the shop, but that's my goal, is to get a few of these videos out. And if people click on the ads, you don't have to buy the product. You may want to. I want to link some of those ads to Harbor Freight, Craftsman, Lowe's, Home Depot, for certain products, and it would sure help me out a lot, so I would appreciate it. Thanks a lot.